Welcome to Dance Playing, everybody. I'm Edward, and we're diving deep today. We are tackling, a big one.
Yeah.
Big Pharma.
Ooh.
Are they the heroes of modern medicine, or are they just greedy villains?
It's interesting because the pharmaceutical industry is one of the most complex and definitely scrutinized industries out there.
Yeah.
So many groundbreaking discoveries, but also so many controversial practices.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty,
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this question out there.
Okay.
Imagine a world, just imagine, no antibiotics,
Wow.
no life-saving vaccines.
Okay.
Would we be willing to accept the trade-offs
Right.
for a completely pure pharmaceutical industry?
That's a really, really good question.
Yeah.
It really makes you think because this industry, for all its flaws, has been responsible for some truly incredible advances
For sure.
in human health. Like, we have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
To understand the criticisms. We
Yeah.
have to look at, like, the whole journey.
The whole history.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's rewind the clock a little bit.
Okay.
Way back to the late 19th, early 20th centuries. This is where we see what we know as Big Pharma today kind of start to emerge.
Yeah.
You know, things like aspirin. Aspirin was huge.
I mean, it was a game changer.
Game changer. People love this idea of being able to relieve pain, reduce fever with this one little pill.
It's fascinating how, like, that early era had this feeling of optimism, like wonder around these new miracle cures.
Totally. But as we know, that shifted. And a big turning point was the thalidomide tragedy.
Oh, yeah.
In the 1950s and 60s.
Yeah.
This was where a drug that seemed safe, a sedative, ended up causing these terrible birth defects.
It really exposed the dangers of inadequate testing, like not testing drugs properly.
And it wasn't just that immediate impact.
Yeah.
The thalidomide tragedy really set the stage for how we regulate pharmaceuticals from that point on.
Absolutely.
You know, agencies like the FDA, the EMA in Europe, they were given more power.
Yeah.
The entire industry had to face much stricter standards for both the safety and effectiveness of these new drugs.
Which, that's really important, but then it also adds another layer of complexity and cost to a process that's already really expensive drug development.
Totally. And that kind of leads us into the modern era.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest criticisms that we hear about Big Pharma all the time.
That's it.
The price of medications.
Oh, yeah.
It's no secret.
It is a big one.
Some of these life-saving treatments, especially for really rare diseases or cutting-edge therapies, the price tags are unbelievable.
Yeah, it's wild.
And it makes you wonder, how affordable, how accessible are these drugs really?
It's not just the cost of research and development either.
Right.
A lot of critics argue that Big Pharma's pricing strategies are all about profit.
Yeah.
Like, patient well-being comes second.
Yeah.
And so that raises a really tough question.
Like, how do we balance the need for innovation?
Right.
We want them to keep innovating.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure that everyone can get the medicine that they need.
It's a hard one. It's a really complex dilemma.
Yeah.
There's no easy answers here.
Yeah.
The industry will say, oh, but research and development, the clinical trials, the high failure rates, they have their justifications.
Sure.
But critics are saying, hold on a second.
Right.
These companies are reporting record profits.
Exactly.
And there are people who can't even afford basic medications.
Yeah.
So something's not adding up.
It's a tightrope walk.
Yeah, it is.
It makes you wonder, are there other pricing models out there?
Right.
Could we be doing this differently to strike a better balance between keeping that innovation going, but making sure everybody can afford what they need?
That's a great question. And it's one that policymakers, healthcare providers, and patient groups are all struggling with right now.
Yeah.
Some people want stricter price controls. Other people think we need different approaches altogether, like value-based pricing.
What's that?
So that would be where the cost of the drug is tied to how well it actually works and how much it benefits the patient.
Interesting.
So it's a different way of thinking about it.
Yeah, but it's not just the pricing that gets people raising their eyebrows, the way they market, the way they lobby.
Yeah.
All of that also makes people wonder about their ethics.
For sure. Like, just think about how much pharmaceutical advertising.
I know, it's everywhere.
It's out there. Everywhere you look, it's like another drug ad.
Like on TV, in magazines.
It's constant.
It's everywhere.
And it's not random.
Right.
This is a carefully planned strategy
Yeah.
to target both us and healthcare providers.
Oh, absolutely. They sponsor conferences. They have all these relationships with doctors.
Right.
They provide educational materials. They're trying to influence the way that drugs get prescribed.
It makes you wonder, where does education and information become just straight up influence?
Yeah. And speaking of influence, Big Pharma, they also have a lot of power.
Oh, yeah.
In politics.
For sure.
They spend so much money on lobbying.
Tons.
And it makes people worry that corporate interests are winning out over what the public actually needs when it comes to health.
It's a touchy subject.
Yeah.
We do have to acknowledge that lobbying is, legal.
Legal, yeah.
It's part of the political process.
Yeah.
But when it comes to healthcare,
yeah,
the stakes are just so high.
Yep.
There's definitely potential for conflicts of interest.
Total.
And we have to have safeguards in place. We have to make sure that those policy decisions are based on evidence and what's best for the patients.
This is all very complicated stuff.
It is, yeah.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, we have.
So much more to talk about, right?
There is.
Let's take a quick pause.
Okay.
We'll be right back to keep digging into these criticisms surrounding Big Pharma.
Sounds good.
But in the meantime, head over to our website, www.dansplain.xyz.
Good idea.
We have more episodes there, articles, partner products, all that good stuff.
All the goodies.
We'll be right back.
Awesome.
We're back, and we are still in the thick of it, talking about Big Pharma.
Yeah, before the break, we were discussing how much influence Big Pharma has through their marketing and lobbying. But there's another big concern, and that's transparency or really a lack of it.
Yeah, you hear this criticism all the time.
All the time.
Big Pharma, they don't want to share all the data from their clinical trials, especially if the results weren't so good.
Especially the bad news.
Yeah, and that lack of transparency, well, it has a domino effect.
Oh, yeah.
For one thing, it can really slow down scientific progress.
Absolutely, if researchers can't see the full picture, including the studies that maybe didn't have the results they were hoping for.
Right.
They could be wasting a ton of time and money going down a path that someone else already tried and it didn't work.
It's like trying to put together a puzzle, but you don't have all the pieces.
Exactly.
It's going to take you a lot longer.
Yeah, and you might end up with something that looks totally wrong.
And not only that, but it also just leads to a lack of trust.
Oh, absolutely.
When people feel like information's being hidden from them,
it's
only natural for them to get suspicious.
It's like, what are they hiding?
Right, exactly.
And then it makes it hard to have, honest conversations about medication risks and benefits.
Totally. And it makes you think, okay, if they're so quick to tell us about all their successes, what are they trying to hide about their failures?
Right. Exactly. What don't we know?
Exactly. And that feeds into this whole bigger issue. How much does the profit motive actually influence research and development?
Right. Are they putting profits ahead of patients?
Yeah. Some people say these companies, they're tempted to just downplay or even just completely bury any negative results to protect their bottom line.
It's all about the money.
And that brings us to another practice
that
gets a lot of criticism.
What's that?
Evergreening.
Ah, evergreening.
You familiar with this one?
Oh, yeah, evergreening.
Yeah.
So that's when companies make these tiny little tweaks to existing drugs.
Yeah.
Just enough to get a new patent, keep those cheaper generics off the market.
Keep the profits rolling in, right?
Yeah, keep that money coming in.
So from a business standpoint, it's pretty smart.
Yeah.
But critics say it's keeping prices way too high.
Yeah.
And that means people who really need these medications, they can't afford them.
And it also makes you wonder, are these little tweaks really innovations?
Yeah.
Or is it just about staying in control of the market and making as much money as possible?
It's a tough one because you want to incentivize companies to keep innovating.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time,
we need affordable medications.
We've got to be able to afford the treatments.
Exactly. We can't be pricing people out of essential medicines.
Yeah. But let's not forget, this industry has also been responsible for some pretty amazing breakthroughs.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Medical advancements that have saved a lot of lives.
Absolutely.
Think about the progress we've seen
in
treating HIV/AIDS, cancer, hepatitis C, so many different diseases.
Right. And even like the COVID-19 vaccines, they were developed so quickly.
Yeah.
That shows you what the industry is capable of when they really put their minds to it.
It shows you how much scientific talent and expertise there is in Big Pharma.
And potential for good.
Yeah, but we also can't forget that these breakthroughs, they don't come cheap.
No, they don't. They cost billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars in research, and a lot of that research doesn't even pan out.
It fails.
And these companies, they need to see a return on that investment.
Right, they're businesses.
If they want to keep innovating, they got to make money.
It's a high-stakes game.
And it makes you wonder, how do we make sure that the pursuit of profit doesn't end up overshadowing everything else?
Right.
You know, the ethics, the patient's well-being.
The human side of things.
And all of that. Right. That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a question that's been around for a long time.
A long time.
And there have been times when the desire for profit has led to some really serious ethical problems.
Yeah, some big mistakes.
Like a really good example of that.
What's that?
The opioid epidemic.
Oh, the opioid epidemic, yeah.
This is a dark chapter in the history of Big Pharma.
A very dark chapter.
You had some manufacturers. They were downplaying how addictive these opioid painkillers were while they were aggressively marketing them to doctors and patients.
Pushing them hard.
It led to widespread misuse.
Yeah.
Addiction.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people lost their lives.
And too many.
Piece of it.
It's heartbreaking, really.
The impact on individuals, families, communities, it's been huge. Devastating.
It's a really, really stark reminder of what can happen when profit becomes more important than patient safety.
And doing the right thing.
And the industry hasn't gotten away scot-free.
Right.
We've seen these massive fines.
Huge.
And settlements.
Yeah.
Companies that were found guilty of fraudulent marketing, misleading people about how safe and how effective these drugs were.
So are those fines enough?
Well, they can't bring back the people who have died.
Right. That's true.
But it shows that there are consequences.
Yeah, at least there's some accountability.
But it still leaves you with that question. Yeah. How do we prevent this from happening again?
How do we stop history from repeating itself?
It's not an easy problem to solve.
No, it's complicated.
There are people who say we need stricter regulations.
Yeah.
We need to really crack down on how these companies are marketing.
Yeah, more oversight.
Other people say we need a bigger focus on corporate social responsibility.
Right, like the industry needs to change its culture.
Yeah.
It needs to put patients first.
It all comes down to finding a way to balance the fact that this is a profit-driven industry.
Right, they need to make money.
With this ethical responsibility to provide safe, effective, and affordable treatments to everyone who needs them.
It's a tall order, but it's one we have to figure out.
Yeah. If we want to really harness the power of medical innovation and use it to benefit everyone.
To make the world a healthier place.
Wow. So we're wrapping up our deep dive into Big Pharma. And I got to say, I'm feeling kind of, I don't know, conflicted.
Yeah, I get it.
On the one hand, you see these amazing scientific breakthroughs.
Incredible. Yeah.
They're saving lives.
Absolutely.
But then there's, like, the other side.
Right, the dark side.
The ethical questions, the prices, this whole focus on profit.
It's hard to reconcile.
It really is. We've talked about it a lot today.
We have.
The history of Big Pharma, all the criticisms they face, the amazing stuff they've done, the challenges ahead.
Yeah.
It seems like they're constantly trying to walk this line between innovation and profit.
It's a tightrope.
And I'm not sure they're always getting it right.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
You can't just say they're good or bad.
No, it's way more complicated than that.
It's way more complicated.
These companies are operating in a system that really pushes them to make as much money as possible.
Right.
But even within that system, you have people, researchers, even whole companies that really want to make a difference.
Yeah, so it sounds like we need to look at this from all sides.
Totally, a more holistic approach.
Yeah, we can't just point fingers.
No, we have to understand the whole picture.
So what does that look like?
Well, I think stricter regulations would help.
Okay.
You know, government agencies need to step up and make sure companies are behaving ethically.
Right.
We need more transparency with clinical trials, and we need to find a way to make sure pricing is fair.
Yeah. And what about us? Like, what can we do?
We can't just sit around and wait for someone else to fix this.
Right.
We have to educate ourselves.
Okay.
Like, really understand the medications we're taking, the risks, the benefits.
Right.
We have to be informed.
Yeah.
And we have to advocate for a healthcare system that puts patients before profits.
Absolutely. And that means supporting policies that make sure everyone can afford the medications they need.
Exactly. Access for everyone.
Yeah, it's got to be a team effort, right?
It does.
We need researchers who are committed to good science.
Yeah. Unbiased, rigorous science.
We need doctors who are willing to, like, question what these companies are telling them.
Absolutely. Challenge those marketing claims.
And put their patients first.
And we need a public that understands what's going on.
Yeah.
And demands transparency from Big Pharma.
It's been eye-opening, this deep dive.
It has been.
Big Pharma, they can do great things.
Oh, yeah.
But they can also make big mistakes.
And they're driven by money.
Yeah.
We can't forget that.
The main takeaway for me is we can't just be passive about this.
We have to be active participants in our healthcare.
And got to shape the future of this industry.
Absolutely. A future where medical innovation is ethical and benefits everyone.
Well, Lily, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's been a great conversation.
Really interesting.
And to all our listeners out there, keep thinking critically.
Keep asking those tough questions.
Keep learning.
And be sure to check out our website.
www.dansplain.xyz.
For more episodes, articles,
partner products, all that good stuff.
All the goodies.
Until next time, stay curious, everybody.
See you next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep dansplaining the world around you.